if you were to think about the teams that you led that were high performing, that were successful, some of those great ones that you look back on and say that was a really strong team. What were some of the sort of the environmental conditions that were true for those teams? What did it feel like, look like to be on one of those teams? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I'm thinking about the opportunity when I started to lead in Austin, relocated the family from Colorado, and we took over in what was, I think, I would say a struggling situation. Customers were pretty ticked off at my predecessor. I think there was some turnover as a result of some of that,
Okay.
and the counterparts within the organization weren't really talking or speaking or working with one another. Um, but 3.5 years later, not only was my team number one,
Mm.
the
Mhm.
adjoining teams in the city, we had, I think, 4 or 5 President's Club teams within the same
Wow.
city. And I
Wow.
think at the root of that, Joe,
Yeah.
was this notion that one, everyone wanted to win.
Mm.
Number two, everyone was willing to understand what the other person needed to be successful. And
Mm.
how could we block and tackle for one another in the midst of also achieving our goal? But what was the shared goal? Winning. And
Yeah.
so as a result, when I would sit down, initially it was, I was representing neurosurgery and navigation at the time. And so if I was sitting down with my team, I could represent that. My spine counterpart would represent spine. The pain person would represent pain. Well, at the end of it, I
Mhm.
trusted my counterpart to represent neurosurgery, to represent all those interests on my behalf in a meeting. So my reps could go with that
Mhm.
person. And likewise, the spine reps would call me and say, "Hey, Andre, could you come in and speak about capital
Mhm.
and or neurosurgery with our customers?" We had this trusted understanding of what each other needed to achieve. And
Mhm.
fundamentally, we're in lockstep that we were going to be everywhere and anywhere representing our overall value, and we all
Yeah.
could communicate that clearly. Um,
Yeah.
and the end result, we were winning everywhere. So
Wow.
it was great.
Yeah.
Tr- Trey, I have a follow-up question there. I love this. We could probably just stay in this one lane for the rest of the time. I'm sure Joe's got some ideas firing here too. But you talked about trust there, and I don't know if you've heard of the Covey concept of
Yep.
moving at the speed of trust, right? But what were the investments that were made in each other? Like, how did y'all build some connection to get to that place of what feels like high trust amongst the team?
So, Sean, this is one of my favorite stories. So, it did not start that way when we
Yeah.
sat down initially here in the Austin area. Um, I can remember going to dinner with my vice president, other vice president, and all the stakeholders. And there was a very tenured representative there that looked across the table. And after the vice presidents were talking about, hey, we need to come together and work as a team, this is going to be great, and they were looking for this more tenured, senior member of the team to help, bring me and the team, my team along, to be a part of the equation. And he was highly successful at the time, but he stood up at the table and said, "You can't do anything for me. What can you do for me?" And was
Mm.
like,
Mm.
"I There's nothing in this for me to move this along in X, Y, and Z." And so I listened to this individual spout off about that for about, 20, 30 minutes. And, sadly, the leadership couldn't get this person aligned. But I looked at the number two and the number three rep sitting right there at the table. And I could tell they weren't necessarily aligned to him, but, he was the top dog at the time. And so I
Mhm.
told my team, we're going to do everything under our power to help those two grow. We're going to make an
Mm.
example of what's
And
possible out of those that are willing. And
mm.
so the beautiful thing was, because they also wanted to achieve, and this person was kind of taking all the air out of a lot of the situations, I poured the exceptions, you name it,
Mhm.
and created value for them in very unique ways that we hadn't done before to help them advance their business, our business as an organization. And they were then ingrained. They're still dear friends to this day, and we still
Mhm.
stay in contact. But we forged real bonds and relationships for them that were meaningful and helped them
Mhm.
achieve goals in their life that I think they had only dreamed of. And so It's
Yeah.
finding the right opportunity, going at it the right way. It may not be direct, but if you have your eyes and ears open, as we started the conversation, you'll see and listen and find the opportunity for the path forward or the crack in the wall that'll let you through.